Welcome, one and all. My name's Sean Linehan from DDC. I'm the growth director over here. This afternoon's LinkedIn Live is all about embedding artificial intelligence and Gen BI into everyday workflows. The purpose of the session is to offer some guidance from practitioners, but also kind of demystify some of the challenges that might be inherent in either embedding AI and indeed Gen BI into your everyday workflows. I've got a cohort of really good colleagues with me. We've got Kate Tickner, who's the Senior Director for Pyramid Analytics for the partner element of their organisation. Peter Walker, the Sales Vice President for UK region. Yash, very kindly joining us from the US, very early morning for you, so thank you. And also Gautam from DDC in India for us this morning. So I'm going to pass it over to you, Kate, if I can, please, to kick us off. And if you have any questions as we're going through the session, please pop them in the chat window and we'll get to them as quickly as we can.
Perfect. Thanks very much, Sean. Let's start with you, Gautam. You're the head of data science at DDC. We've talked in the title about everyday workflows, and really that means about business. I know you feel very passionately about the business driving things. Do you want to talk a little bit about the relationship that analytics and AI should have to the business use cases?
Well, absolutely. Yeah. Thanks, Kate. Thanks, Sean, for introduction. Yeah, I think this is important because we, hear too much, from the market these days about analytics versus AI, and where exactly analytics end and AI starts. I somehow feel that it's a completely, a white noise, right? So we should rather focus on why and the what part, focusing on the business benefits and the objectives, and the how part, wherein the analytics and AI and everything else comes in, including ML, machine learning, can take care of that. And to be very precise on how these three things are related, analytics, which is basically some advanced statistical tools and methods that's there for a long time, basically helps ML, which is an advanced model of taking those data and building models. And AI is nothing but taking it further to the next level of including more dimensions and more data. That's all it is in a layman's language. And I think for the business, that's all what's needed. But we should focus on the actual objective and why we are doing and what we are doing. And we should not be led by FOMO, fear of missing out, right? Because there's a lot of talk about AI, including that of Gen AI. I'm not saying that AI and Gen AI by any means, can be, belittled at this point in time. They're important, critical, but then there's total cost of ownership as well. So we need to have a balanced perspective on what fits where and how do these things complement each other.
Great. Okay, so really looking at the business use cases first and foremost, looking at total cost of ownership and return on investment rather than getting caught up in terms of the technology. I know Yash, as you're a technical solutions engineer, so you get caught up in the technology quite a bit, but you also got a view on the concept of AI and Treasure. Did you want to share that with us a little bit?
Yeah, Kate, absolutely. So, you're right. AI, it's this big conversation that's happening right now. And I think there's a lot of expectations that come with AI. And one of those expectations is that AI is going to solve everything, right? It's the big, easy button. And that's just not true. Now, I don't necessarily believe that AI is the gold at the end of the rainbow, right? I don't think it's the treasure. I think it's the treasure map that can help us get to those insights, get to the things that we're really looking for in a more simplistic way, right? It does make the process easier, but it isn't the solution overall.
Fantastic. So again, going back to what Gautam said about ignoring the noise and focusing in on what it will do for the business, it's not the end goal in itself. Fantastic. So going back to you, Gautam, I know you've come from a broader data management focus in your career. Talk a little bit about whether the traditional, like the 4 pillars that DDC uses, how that fits in this new era of AI and analytics.
Sure, Kate. We call them as data strategy. I mean, there are different names and jargons, but we like to keep it very simple today. So the first, the 4 pillars will be data profiling. At times we call it as reference data. The second pillar is called as data quality. The third one is called as process data gaps. And the fourth one is nothing but, ongoing data management. Now, what are these things? Let's demystify this. Data profiling, reference data is nothing but define and have proper boundary of your parameters, right? I mean, all that we are doing is information management in a different way with BI, with analytics, but it's all data, right? And if it's jargon in, it will be if it's garbage in, garbage out, right? So we define our data, including the unit of metrics, the range, the conditions, the descriptions, the frequency, the format, in a mode of access or availability and remarks. I mean, that's all, which is in the first part of data profiling. Data quality is nothing but that you start ingesting your data into the system. Have a data governance where you monitor and track the alerts based on some of the ranges, some of the spec limits or control limits. Differentiate between the outliers and missing values, because that's very important. To distinguish these missing values and outliers, whether they're coming from the normal process or they're coming from either malfunctioning of a process or an equipment, right? Identifying the missing entries based on the frequencies that you define out there. So if you have a process in a manufacturing unit that takes half an hour or 2 minutes, actually you will get a data ingestion for that parameter every half an hour or 2 minutes. Now, if that ingestion is not happening within a certain time period, that means there is a problem, right? So that's all about data quality. The process data gaps is nothing but, again, from a business perspective, always try to have leading metrics for lagging metrics. That means mostly we run on SLAs, service level agreements, whether we meet, customer SLAs or not at the endpoint, but try to have some leading indicators which will help you to control the outcome. So it's not always that you observe the lagging metrics, then go back and do something more reactively, but be more proactive. Have a set of leading and lagging metrics for your process controls. And the third one, data management, is nothing but try to understand what levels you should look at the data. So the management information, the department view, the unit level view, the machine view, or it depends whether you're a service company or a manufacturing company. The second thing is understand and detect trends or patterns, and the third thing is understand and see that whether there is any kind of sense that makes out between the correlations and the causation. So you might get some correlations that may not necessarily mean causation, or figure that out, so that you can actually help the business. That's it.
Okay. Great. So, what you're saying is that these pillars are just as important when you're trying to enable effective AI-driven decision making, and when you're trying to embed that and analytics into these everyday business use cases as they have ever been, I assume.
Absolutely critical. Otherwise, you talk about big things of deep learning, AI, Gen AI, whatever you say. As I said, garbage in, garbage out. So this is very fundamental. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, so let's go to Peter then. Peter, you cover the whole of EMEA for pyramid analytics, and can you talk a little bit about the distinction between embedding analytics into existing applications versus maybe creating net new analytical platforms, and also some of the terms that are flying around, like embedded versus invisible versus modern analytics, just to try and clarify some of that a bit for us.
Yeah, of course. Thanks, Kate. Hi, everybody. Certainly, in terms of our day-to-day conversations across, multiple geographies, across multiple industry verticals, we've been having conversations. Often start with organizations that have transformed or are transforming from what they regard as Excel chaos across into a transformation process that these organizations have gone through to incorporate dashboard tooling into their ecosystem. And in many cases, a multitude of tools delivering dashboards across different parts of their organization. So in fairness, a degree of dashboard chaos also. And some of the gaps that exist in their desired state with that scenario is elements such as self-service orientated requirements not being addressed, and also the ability for them to get scale of adoption across their enterprise for the insights that they can derive from that data, so that ultimately it can drive the right value to the right people. And so those conversations extend to a point where we talk to them about the ability to deliver an analytics platform that primarily delivers three core elements: a data management experience, a content creation experience, and a consumer experience that is leveraging a combination of human intelligence and artificial intelligence to help drive the insights that are specific to different people with different personas, different role profiles, wherever they may be located within that enterprise across multiple departments and divisions and geographies. And in effect, moving away from a limited BI standard into an operational wide BI standard that delivers governed self-service to the masses. And then there's always a gap. And it's been there for a long time. I've, over the years, often heard independent analysts talking about a scale of adoption for most enterprises that ranges between 15 and 30% of the employee base of an organization who are accessing tools in order to derive insight, to in effect make their roles day to day easier and ultimately enable them to make the right decisions at the right time. And one of the ways of extending the reach of analytics is, of course, by delivering that platform proposition that can make the information available to each of those personas and role profiles that exist within an enterprise organization, but also for them to consider deriving an embedded analytics capability off the same platform within the same enterprise-wide standard that extends to include delivering insights to people where they're at in their role at that current point in time, whether that be embedded into applications, into portals, into websites. It's really limitless in that respect, and extending the reach of insight outside of the traditional enterprise firewall to include customers, partners, suppliers, etc. And that's really driving an enhanced value proposition as a result of being able to scale the level of adoption of that insight, again, to the right people at the right time so they can make the right decisions. And you referenced the different terminology. Certainly what we're seeing at the moment from Gartner is commentary around invisible analytics. And this takes analytics one step further. It needs to leverage that strong platform proposition, but enable people to derive, in effect, prescriptive analytics, or indeed true decision intelligence, where they're combining, in simplistic forms, they're combining human intelligence with generative AI to determine a next best action. And this is something that we'll see more and more in the coming months and years, as obviously AI develops and as people's adoption rates develop. But being able to have conversations with data, irrespective of your role or your profile, and then ultimately the platform being able to deliver options for next best actions as a result of delivering prescriptive analytics is something that, we're certainly going to hear about in the future.
Okay, just briefly, could you give us a couple of customer use cases or examples just to kind of illustrate your point?
Yeah, of course. So two primary examples would be, so one particular one, a large retailer operating across Europe with a typical enterprise scenario and needing to standardize their BI proposition internally. They had a multitude of tools, and they wanted a consistent BI standard to operate across their organization. But then they had a real strong vision around wanting to include their dealers, their distributors that were placed across different geographical locations, different languages, with different needs from sales, from marketing, from supply chain. And those that audience being used to typically interacting with different forms of applications or different portals or different websites as it related to that core retailer's proposition. And so what we've done is embedded the analytics content into each of those user experiences. So the insight lands where those users are used to working on a day-to-day basis, and that's really extended the use case, the value proposition from an internally focused to an externally focused analytics to the masses proposition, and is having significant success. And then another example would be within a technology vendor, a HR provider, who again wanted to attach or embed analytics to their proposition in order to drive even more value, to reduce churn, to enhance the overall proposition, and as a result, drive even more value to their existing customer base and enable them to drive net new revenue. And that's something, again, that we've delivered on en masse to a multitude of their existing customers and their net new. So two interesting, exciting examples of how you can extend the reach, leverage AI as part of that platform proposition, and really scale the adoption of true insights from an analytics platform.
Great. I'm going to go to Yash next. I'm going to ask everyone that's not speaking to just pop themselves on mute so that we don't get the background noise. But Yash, just to go back to the terminology a little bit, when Sean did the opener, he talked a bit about Gen AI and Gen BI. Would you like to just please clarify for people what the difference is in far as we're concerned?
Of course. So, it's interesting, right? Because like generative AI, it really focuses on unstructured data. Right, we're seeing that especially with LLMs, which are really good large language models, which are good with words, not really numbers and insights. And that's where generative BI really comes in, because generative BI takes that structured and unstructured and structured data and links them together to bring insights and recommendations, that prescriptive analytics and different things within generative BI to our customers and organizations as a whole.
That's fantastic. Thank you. So the difference between numeric and textual type data, using the right technology for each and being able to combine them. So Gautam, I'm going to ask you to wrap up here. We started with this premise that we're helping people to embed analytics and AI into ordinary workflows. We ran through the importance of business use cases, some definition of terms, the underpinning of the analytics and AI by more traditional and important data management foundations. How do you at DDC help everyone from the C-level exec down to the sort of citizen data science to navigate this arena?
Yeah, so we talk about democratization of data. We have heard this number of times, not only in recent past but since last couple of years of time. So this is where I'll go back and refer to what Yash mentioned, right? So you have got a treasure map. And we need to understand how do you navigate this AI treasure map, right? And what Peter referred, right, saying the invisible analytics, the actionables. So all that we are saying is that when we are talking about Gen BI, when we are talking about analytics here, including all the components of AI, ML, and Gen AI, we are not saying that you just get some reports where you just get to see some metrics. We are talking about two things. One is, how do you link those metrics, numbers, with trends, patterns, and take a decision? And is there a lineage where you can also figure out what I mentioned before, the causation, right? So I'll take two examples. One of the biggest, batteries manufacturing, companies, we are doing, some of these, digitization on, data management, right? And we are giving them analytics dashboards where they can see how their distributors and retailers are performing, because it's a business for them B2B and then B2C, so B2B2C, right? But then it is important to link with it the recommendation engines wherein we are using ML and AI to figure out what's my churn of the dealers, and we have defined that as 30% less than the base level. So if my dealers or distributors are consuming less than 30% of the current base levels, If that's my prediction, I'll tag him or her as a distributor to be, getting churn, right?
Okay.
And then we are also, marrying that with a recommendation engine that the sales guy is getting with the Salesforce tab, right, on the phone. That, okay, what are the products that will be recommended? So it's the BI, with something tangible, for action on the ground. If I talk about something which is pure industry usage, manufacturing, steel pipes, again, there's a lot of complicated process of, liquid metal and casting and all that. But, on a broader level, if you have a defective pipe coming out, you need to figure out that happened because of which stage, right? Was it
Yes.
a problem at, something called as a converter where you mix magnesium with the molten metal, or is it like, ferrosilicon, or is it the rotating speed of the casting machine? And you may get a trend out of this data that every third machine, the casting machine, there is a problem. So maybe the machine is a problem. Or you may figure out that when you have a ladle and it pours on the hopper, every fourth hopper there's a problem because the temperature of the liquid is coming down, right?
I think we're
So,
getting deep into the detail here, Gautam.
Yes.
yeah. All that we are saying is that we will enable you not only to get a dashboard, but then so that you can take concrete actions.
Perfect. That's fantastic. I want to thank all of you there. I think we have in just over 20 minutes managed to deliver some helpful information as far as the art of the possible for analytics and AI, remind people that it has to be focused around a business use case, that AI in itself is not the end goal. It's the treasure map, if you like, and that what you need is a safe pair of hands to help you walk the journey and some fantastic technology to enable you. And hopefully the combination of DDC and Pyramid can do just that for our customers. Thank you everyone who's listened and dialed in, and anyone who's going to listen to the recording. And thanks to our fantastic partners, Digital Data Consultancy, for participating in this with us. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.